Good morning, angels. We are about to go into a new year, and most of the time people look to what they are so excited about for the new year, the goals they want to set, and they don't often look at themselves, have a good hard look at themselves, their shadow selves, what needs to be healed, what needs to be cleared moving forward, and the mask that we carry, the mask that we wear, those feelings of vulnerability, of shame, of guilt, of embarrassment. And I want to invite you today to explore your shadow self, to explore those parts of yourself that you keep hidden to keep up with society's expectation, or to fit in, or to feel like you wear this mask of having everything all together, but it's blocking you. It is stopping you from reaching your full potential. And I want to guide you through a process to really connect with this shadow self and help you become whole, help you become more complete, help you really step into your power moving forward by recognizing what you need to heal or let go of before you can really move into this more powerful, embodied, authentic part of yourself. So let's get a little bit raw, a little bit real, a little bit uncomfortable, but this is going to be a very, very powerful episode for you, my friends. Good morning, gorgeous souls. This morning's episode is all around our shadow self, looking at those parts of ourselves that are very uncomfortable. It's like having a really good hard look at your whole self, those parts of you that feel maybe a little bit that you're embarrassed of, like those secret desires that you have that you don't want to let out in public, and how we can walk around like wearing these masks or these facades and not being honest with ourselves. This episode is all around having a good hard look at yourself and being so honest and so raw and so vulnerable with yourself, because that's when you achieve more wholeness. That's when you step more into your power. That's when you find that you feel more complete, you feel more authentic when we look at all aspects of ourselves. So I started this episode with two flower essences, one from Lotus Way from my good friend Kate Weston Kinesiology, and the first one is Truth Teller, which is all around fearless speech, like this authentic expression and conviction. I sprayed one of that, and the other one was True Strength, which was all around like that community, like support, wholeness, and having that strength in yourself. And I thought these are needed for these episodes. I've been using a lot of flower essences for many, many years, but really at the moment, as we get into the end of the year, the time I'm recording this episode is the end of 2025. But this will be a powerful episode no matter when you listen to it. It really does not matter. But I have found for me, feeling all of this has come up at a really divine timing, getting to the end of this 9-year cycle, the end of this snake year, like shedding layers. It's all around shedding layers and having awareness in yourself, which is a hard thing to do, such a hard thing to do. And most of the time we go into the new year and we focus on our goals moving forward. We focus on what we want, like maybe some of the habits that we need to let go of, or the habits that we want to change, like surface level stuff like I've been eating terribly, I need to clean up my diet. I haven't been moving my body enough, I need to start exercising more. But what I'm inviting you into today is going deeper, like going so deep and looking at that shadow part of yourself, which I'll get into and explain what that is. But that part of ourself that we almost feel like a little bit shameful or a bit embarrassed, or, we just kind of want to hide it to ourselves. But what I want to share with you today is when you integrate them, when you reclaim like those lost parts of yourself or those hidden parts of yourself, and you integrate it, you can actually live more authentically. You can embrace your uniqueness, and often they are the fuel that you need moving forward. Like all parts of you, when you embrace all parts of you, you actually discover that some of those things that we want to hide or we're embarrassed by, when you actually embrace them, you can really turn them into a power. You can really use them to fuel where you need to go and what you need to be, and help you with your desires. But it's up to you to get raw with yourself. It's up to you to look at yourself, as I have had to do for myself. And so today's episode is going to be very raw, I'll be very open, very, very vulnerable, because there are definitely aspects of me that I keep hidden. And I do, I recommend that there are parts of yourself that you keep private. I'm not saying you have to like air all of your dirty laundry. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is you just got to get honest with those parts of yourself and heal them and notice where these subconscious programming, these subconscious patterns have come from. And when you integrate that, you can actually soar, my friends. Like you can really soar so much further than you have before. So remember, it doesn't matter when you listen to this episode. Some of you will listen to it like as we're transitioning from the end of this 2025 into this 2026. And remember, it's not just about a date on the calendar. We often go, okay, 31st of December. It's just like a human constraint of a date, right? This energy is going to shift kind of from this December, January, February period where we are ending with this cycle and going into this new phase, this year of the horse, or this new phase of more, I guess, motivation, or this phase of really owning yourself and embracing who you are and stepping into this new power, like this new phase of really achieving what you want to achieve and being more who you are, like being more of an authentic express version of you. So part of that, a big part of that is not just what you want, and it is a bit of what you want and what you don't want, but it's also looking at those parts of you that need to come to the surface and need a bit of healing, need a bit of love, need a bit of self-compassion to go, it's okay, like it's human. It's okay to feel this way and not be embarrassed or ashamed or resent or push away those parts of you, but to accept them and to embrace them and understand that it's all part of having the human experience. It's all part of this human journey, and all of these parts, even the dark parts, they all make up you, okay? So what happened, I'll just give you a really quick rundown. So what's kind of happened as I've come to the end of the year and I'm kind of thinking about what I want to do moving forward, thinking about, let's just do the intentions or goals or creative projects or things that I want to do moving forward, or what I want to bring into my lifestyle or the way I want to show up. It's been like this season where in these last couple of months, for me, for beloved ones, for community members that I'm speaking to, it's like a lot of maybe challenges or a lot of confrontations or a lot of discomfort or a lot of endings are coming, and they can come through the easy way, the hard way. They can come through, you recognize it, or it can come through a situation that's unfolded that is not pleasant, or it's uncomfortable, and people are facing like these feelings of maybe surprises that have hit them that they didn't expect. And I want you to start with understanding that things are happening for you. They're not happening to you. But the human emotion is to go, why is this happening? Like, why has this gone wrong? What have I done wrong? Blame other people and look at the situation maybe with anger, maybe with, sadness, maybe with resentment, maybe all these human emotions. I just want you to understand that these human emotions they're energy in motion, like they're really normal things. So don't have any embarrassment or shame around what comes up for you, and understand that we need to process our emotions. It's healthy, it's normal. It's how we recognize like what's happening in our nervous system, what's happening in our body, what's happening within our heart and soul. Like spirit is guiding us, and we need to open up to tune into that and go, maybe things are coming to an end, or things are getting sticky or uncomfortable because it's not the right way for you or the other people involved. And remembering with everything that I talk about today, it's bigger than you. Like, there's definitely aspects of you, but it's also interactions with people. It can look at things like it could be a mutual transaction that is good or needed for both parties, because sometimes we get what we need and not what we think we want. Okay, so think of it from all aspects involved. And a couple of things came up for me at the end of this year. A couple of uncomfortable situations with maybe arguments with family members, or disagreements, or collaborations that I thought were going to move forward have like stopped, or they've been brought to an end, they've been uncomfortable. So a whole heap of things have been coming up that have really made me feel anger, have made me feel disappointment, have made me feel like, why is this happening again? Have made me feel like resentment, have made me feel like it's happening to me, have made me feel like I'm going to let people down. Like all of these normal emotions have come up for me. And in conversations with people, it's been brought to my attention that there's things I need to work on myself. I started to look at maybe things that people had said to me that I felt triggered by, that I felt angry by, that I actually had to reframe it. And you've got to feel the emotion. Like, definitely felt anger for a couple of days or a couple of hours or a couple of minutes, whatever. But then I had to sit with it and look at it from a different perspective, and the things that I was maybe angry about or disappointed about or let down about in the other person or in the situation, I had to start thinking. It took me a little bit to get it, but I had to start thinking, like, how am I showing up like this myself? Like, how is this is just a mirror reflection back to me? And I pulled I was sitting with this, a few situations which I'll dive into, like a funny situation. But as they're presenting themselves, I'm sitting with all of this. This is all kind of unfolding over maybe a couple of different situations. So maybe a couple over a couple of days, a couple over a couple of weeks, a few that I've had to reflect back on the last kind of year or cycle. And I pulled a card when all this was going on. I pulled a card around... I've got this beautiful deck. I use it a lot. The Divine Feminine Oracle Guidebook, which is by Megan Watterson. I love this deck. You probably hear me say that a lot. I love this deck. I've got lots of decks I love. And I pulled this card around this Inanna was her name, the Queen of Heaven and Earth. And she says on the card, I have nothing to hide. She's kind of like naked with angel wings. And she says, I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. And I'm like, okay. Then I open up the card and I start reading it. And the first thing it says is Inanna represents the power that comes back to us when we accept and integrate our shadow. And I started thinking, I automatically kind of started thinking about like that shadow self and finding, which I'll explain in a moment exactly what that is, and started looking at situations and going, oh my gosh, this card has shown up because I need to dive a little bit deeper. And I'll read you a little bit of this card because this will help explain your shadow self and it will help explain why you need this, okay? When your soul selects her card, Inanna goes into the depths of her own unconscious to merge with her twin sister self. She becomes more powerful because she's no longer using the conscious psychic energy to keep her shadow or her negative attributes hidden deep underground. She courageously descends and faces the aspects of herself that are hard to get to when she's fully dressed or cloaked in ego. Inanna is an invitation to get naked. She wants us to drop our defenses, to see how holy and sacred it is to be vulnerable. As above, so below. This is an alchemical adage. I can't get the words out. This is an alchemical adage that suggests heaven and earth are not separate. It suggests that within us, deep down in the dark cages where we place parts of ourselves, those hidden parts of ourselves, the truths that exist there also exist right here on the surface of our everyday lives, which is that as above, so below. So if we are exerting great amounts of energy to keep us from hiding and seeing our shadow, it's actually playing a large role in our conscious life. When we can face what we think is a dark or negative thing about us, I mean, really embrace it and see it for what it is, a beautiful broken place that's a call for love, then we can emerge more whole. We can marry the light and the dark aspects of ourselves and our being. And in uniting with our twin sister from the depths, we can stop projecting her onto other women or other people. We can see and own the hot mess that we are and not get sabotaged by it. The light must cast a shadow, and the high priestess is the one who gets called to love them both. The question is, can I love my shadows as much as my life? So I started thinking about all of this. But before I go on, let me just talk to you a little bit about the shadow self, so you kind of understand where we're going with this. So the shadow is rooted deeply like in this Carl Jung philosophy. He was like a psychiatrist born in the 1800s, to the early 1900s. And he kind of speaks about like helping to uncover the hidden aspects of yourself, like those feelings or those aspects of yourself that are maybe feeling like they're unacceptable, they're shameful, they may be kind of hidden desires or hidden fears that you hide from your others, but ultimately that you hide from yourself to kind of keep you safe, to keep you fitting in with society's expectations. It's almost like this, you refer to it as like a dark side. It doesn't mean like dark as in evil, but it's perceived as like this dark side, or these feelings and emotions that are, rooted in maybe the feeling of, it's shameful to think about that. I can't let that part of myself be out. And I'll give you some examples. It's like repressed emotions or hidden fears or desires that we keep hidden away from people because we like, it's not healthy to share that. It's not acceptable to share that. I might offend people. I might be seen a certain way. So it can come up like these shadow aspects can come up. They can be like hidden struggles that we have. It can be hidden patterns that we have. They can show up in places like ways of, say, let's use a few examples, like lack of self-esteem, anxiety, like this fear of rejection, procrastination, overthinking. Maybe you feel like you've got to hide your intelligence to fit in. So you hide certain parts of yourself. It can be like, anger or rage that you kind of keep suppressed. Like you can have lack of boundaries. You get stuck in the comparison. You people please. You have this fear of failure or this fear of not being seen as perfect. You feel maybe like hidden desires that you have that you don't want people to know about, like hidden desires of maybe greed or jealousy or things that you want, but you want to keep them to yourself because you don't want to be seen as being greedy, or you don't want to be seen as kind of being jealous, but they show up that you feel jealous. They can be like envy. You want to avoid conflict, the fear of how others see you, like this fear of being perfect all this time, this fear of, failure, this fear of hiding that from people because you can't be seen to be a failure. It can show up in ways of, like you can blame other people too, like to be a scapegoat or to have, to keep these protection layers around you. You can blame other people for your problems. You can blame other people for your obstacles. So it's really getting back to those parts of yourself that you keep hidden, like the dark side of your psyche that, it's almost like it's perceived as being negative, or it's perceived as being like you've pushed away parts of yourself. You've buried them deep down inside because it's socially undesirable. It might make you feel a bit weird if you share these parts of yourself. They conflict with your self-image, right? So it's like these parts of yourself, you have this self-image or a mask that you wear, and these hidden desires or fears or traits or qualities or patterns, you keep them hidden down deep inside because they will conflict with this image that you form, like this ego part of yourself that you have formed to keep you safe, to keep you accepted, this fear of rejection, like this keeping you in the societal norm bucket, that you actually hide parts of yourself. Because like we have this conscious mind and this subconscious mind. I like to think of it like the iceberg. Like there's 5% or 10% of your conscious mind is like surface level, then 95 or 90% is hidden beneath the surface, right? And so what happens is these subconscious programming, these subconscious beliefs, these subconscious patterns that have developed over years, these subconscious fears, these subconscious desires, they are buried down deep inside. And you work from the conscious, you work from the mind, you work from the rationale, you work from this thinking part of yourself. But a lot of what you do, the actions you take, the beliefs that you have, the things that you manifest in your life, they all come from your subconscious, these things from that we keep hidden below the surface. So I want to invite you today to have a little bit more of a look at your subconscious, have a bit more of a look at what you keep hidden below the surface to keep you safe, to keep you norm, to keep you in more of this, I guess, this self-image that you have, or this mask that you wear. Because guess what? It also, when you tap into this, it's like they may be perceived as negative, they may be perceived as positive or negative, but when you actually tap into them and you look at those parts of yourself that you've perceived as dark or that you've pushed away, that have this conflict with your self-image, they can be developed into positive aspects. They can be developed into artistic talents. They can be developed into your creative zone of genius. They can be developed in a positive way when you open yourself up to look at them. They can actually be a hidden part of your potential, right? And they can, but these shadow parts of us, they manifest subconsciously through like projection. Let me give you an example, okay? So these parts of our negative parts of ourselves, or these hidden parts of ourselves, they can subconsciously manifest through projections, like a mirror, like, you know, in other people or in situations that you see in other people. That can give you a real clue to the shadow parts of yourself. So, for instance, if you look at things that trigger you, if you look at things that play out in people that you get annoyed by, that you get uncomfortable by, when you actually look at them, those traits in other people are similar to the traits in yourself, are similar to the traits or the qualities or the beliefs or those parts of you that you keep hidden below the surface, that you keep in your subconscious. They are actually like a mirror reflection of you. Let me give you some examples to make sense, okay? Funny but not funny example. I was in, when all this was playing out, I'd pulled this card. No, this happened the day before. Then I pulled the card the next day. I was in a shop. I was out looking for some things. We're doing, you know, a few more. We're in like a bit of a zone of doing a couple more reno projects over the Christmas period. And I was in like a homeware shop. I think it was Adairs. And this man come into the shop, and it was like a Pretty Woman moment, right? This man come in, and I don't know what happened. I didn't see it fully, whether he didn't get served straight away, but he come in like it was a tornado, and they mustn't have jumped on him straight away. And he's like yelled at the top of his voice, "This has cost you a lot of money. You know, you should have," I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically said, you know, "Girls, this has cost you a lot of money. I'm leaving. I'm going to go somewhere else when my money's appreciated." Caused this huge scene. And my first thought was, what a fuckwit. Like, this first thought was, I said to the girls, you know, like, no amount of money is worth that negative energy, right? But part of me, as he was walking out the door didn't open properly. You know, he kind of had to stand there, you know, feeling proud, like, you know, "Fuck you ladies, you didn't help me. I'm going to take my money elsewhere, and I'm going to let you know I've got money. I'm going to let you know, like, you know, I've got this ego expectation. You haven't met it. So I'm going to take my pride. I'm going to take my money, and I'm going to go somewhere else." And then the doors got stuck on him. It didn't open straight away. And I had a little chuckle to myself and went, well, there's a bit of karma right there. But as the doors were stuck, and as he was kind of walking out, like, I was like to the girls, you know, because one of them looked a bit frazzled, and I'm like, no amount of money is worth that negative energy. And it's almost like I wanted him to hear me say that. It was almost like I wanted him to hear me go like, do you not realize what a dick you are? Do you not realize how rude you've been? Do you not realize, like, you're coming from such a place of ego? And then I had to realize, hang on a sec, like, that was ego showing up in me. Like, that was that kind of need for me to teach him a lesson, that need for me to go, to laugh at his, you know, the door's not opening, or that need for me to kind of, you know, share what I thought. That was coming from ego from me. Then I went into another store, right? I think I went into Pillow Talk, and he was so loud, and he was getting the girls to help. You know, one girl was helping him. He's getting everything he wanted. I want this, and he was really like, you know, those pillows will go perfectly with my boat, and all of these kind of things. And I'm looking at him, and again, there was a part of me that wanted to, because I was on the phone to my mum at this stage. That's right. And I was talking to my mum, and as I was walking past, he was saying like those things. And I found myself saying to my mum, I can't stand rude people. And in that moment, it's like, again, I want him to hear, to teach him a lesson. And I'm noticing these aspects of myself playing out. I'm noticing these aspects of myself wanting to go, mate, like, you're rude. Like, there's no need. And then I thought about it and thought, why do I need to say that to people? Like, the universe, God, source, karma will deal with him. Like, this is my shadow self kind of playing out. And then maybe there's a bit of him in me. So I started looking at the ways that he showed up, or the ways that he was acting. And I thought maybe there's some part of, I thought, what can I learn from him? Instead of like mocking him, he triggered me for a reason. So I had to look at my triggers, right? And look at why I was being triggered. So that's, an aspect of how situations can show up, and people can reflect back things to you that maybe you do yourself, maybe you do subconsciously, maybe you have this bit of ego that comes up in yourself. And when I went home the next morning, so all these things are playing out, I pulled out my journal. I pulled the card the next morning, which was around like shadow self. I was thinking about some of these collaborations that had, dissolved and not going forward. I was thinking about so many different things, and a few of these things came up. I saw a bit of my Ulpa in that man. I'm like, my Ulpa was not that rude, but he had this sense of pride, like this bit of ego and this bit of being right and wanting nice things, and I just saw a little bit of that playing out. And I started to dive a bit deeper and thought, how I love my Ulpa. He's amazing, but there was definitely some ego aspects of him, and I started thinking about what's been showing up in me over these years that have maybe come through the lineage, come through the generations. And I started to write down a few things, okay? And I started to realize areas of my life where I could see my shadow self playing out, where maybe I had been a bit selfish. And I wrote down, I'll be really honest with you guys. I wrote down, like, at times my tongue can be a bit harsh. My tongue can be a bit mean to maybe some of my family members. It can come across a bit harsh. I try to help them and I try to teach them things, but I realized, just like in this situation with the man at the store, I realized that I don't need to teach them. Like, I don't need to say what's on my mind all the time. I don't need to show them the hard lessons that, they need to figure things out for themselves a bit. And I realized that, and, I try to help them, but I realized I was trying maybe to change them a little bit, or I was trying to, when I say change them, like I was trying to instill my habits and my rituals and more of my wellness beliefs onto them as a way of doing things and telling them what to do, in terms of maybe trying to push them into a bit of meditation, trying to push them to do more yoga, maybe push them to look at the things that they were eating, maybe push them to get back into more personal development, self-developed books, podcasts, all the things. Like, I was trying to push a lot of my stuff onto them, and that I could sometimes come across a little bit, my tongue wasn't, hasn't always been really, really pleasant in the way that I would speak to them. Definitely ways I would not speak to you guys, or to speak to people in my community. I had to have a good hard look at them and go, I keep telling myself it's coming from love. I keep telling myself it's coming from a place of wanting to help them, but maybe it's coming from a place of control. Maybe it's coming from a place of wanting to be right all the time. Maybe it's coming from a place of wanting to be heard and seen, like that man in the shop. Like, all of those was going through my head, through my mind. And I wrote down, like, sometimes I don't listen enough and talk freely. I talk freely, like my way is the right way to do things. Sometimes I can be a little bit rude or make people feel a little bit bad. Sometimes I have a bit too much ego. Sometimes I hate, these are in no particular order, okay? I hate being seen in a bad way. I hate being seen in a negative way. Like, even all these things I'm sharing with you, it's hard. It's uncomfortable to share all these things. When things go wrong in my business, like, for instance, like, cash flow's been a bit tight in certain things. It's a big thing to, like, through the business. It's a big thing to admit, that maybe it's not all roses or all perfect on the outside, that businesses have struggles as well, where you get a bit embarrassed about maybe feeling like the cash flow isn't where you want it to be, but you have to keep parts of that hidden, instead of, like, being really honest with people and going, sometimes business is hard. Sometimes you have dry spells. Sometimes, it doesn't always flow the way you want it to. And again, I have to look at myself and look at, why is this happening? I also wrote down, I can be, sometimes, and this is a hard thing to admit, I can be self-absorbed about my business, so that I push away people because I'm trying to work so much. Like, sometimes I spend way too much time on my work that I don't give my parents enough time on the phone, or people enough time around me on the phone, because I've got things to do, that I can be so self-absorbed in what I'm working on and think, okay, I'm helping people in a bigger perspective, but am I pushing away those closest to me? That was a big one that I had to really look hard at, because I wrote down things like that. I wrote down, in ways that I can maybe talk about myself too much. Like ways like I was explaining about sometimes, like this was a big thing, getting the last word in. Like when that man was walking out the door, I wanted to, to him to realize what an idiot he was being and kind of get that last word in. I'm like, why do I need to do that? That's actually not that important. I Anyway, I wrote down all of these things and I started looking at myself on a deeper level. I'm going, how am I pushing people away, with the way that I am showing up? How am I not being true to myself in certain ways? How am I blocking myself? How am I, not being really honest? And I started to really deep down dive into things that I know are blocking me. And that can come in the way of, let's just use the example, right? From some of these collaborations that I've had, I look back over the last kind of 10 years, like through my PT business, through my studio, through collaborations or people that I had worked with. And I started to look at them and think, what was I missing in myself? Why did I feel the need to work with these people? Yes, I love what they offer. I think they're amazing. But then I started to look a bit deeper and go, a lot of it was because I didn't value myself. A lot of it was because I thought that they could bring more to the table than me. I thought that they were more wise, smarter, had more, maybe business sense or had more to offer. And I've kept myself from, I've doubted on myself for so many years. And that's a hard thing to admit because on the surface, there can be ways that I can definitely show up and I am confident. But there's definitely a lot of ways that I thought I am keeping myself small because I would think that other people would come in and be the savior. Other people would come in and they had more to offer than what I had to offer. And I always felt like I had other people on a pedestal. And it was time for me to rise up and bring my pedestal up to be of an equal playing field. And they never made me feel that way. I made myself feel that way. I kept myself small. I kept myself from feeling like I wasn't good enough because I know when their presence would come in, I would shrink. And I looked at the patterns that had played out for a lot of the years. And I started to think, okay, let's get a bit deeper, Lise. Like, what did you think was going to, what was your deep rooted intention behind some of these collaborations? And I thought about, maybe it would be a bit easier. Maybe it would share the workload. Maybe it would take some of the weight off my shoulders. Maybe it would be, as a way to bring more money into the business or into what I was doing. Maybe it would be a way of expanding into both communities. Maybe it would be a way to split the workload, and it all come back to this energy of not feeling good enough in myself and not feeling that I had enough to offer. If I'm very, very honest, that was where a lot of this kind of come from, and the feeling that somebody else will fill that gap for me, somebody else will fix that for me, somebody else will, I guess, be more valuable than what I am. So it come back to a lot of the deep-rooted feelings of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling like I had enough to offer. So maybe there's been areas in your life where that has shown up for you, where you felt, you're in a relationship because you're scared to leave, because if you leave, who are you? Who's little old me? I saw it play out. This is an example of a reflection, right? A mentor to me, a business mentor to me, I remember when she came into my life recently and she wants to help me, I said to my sister, why would she want to help little old me? Then I've had somebody who I've looked to for help, with the business. And she said to me, I don't know if I have enough to offer you. Why would you want to work with little old me? So I've seen it from both levels, both perspectives. And I had to sit with that and think how we're all a mirror reflection of each other. I had to think, and I said to this person, you have got so much to offer. You've got so much worth, and shared that with her. But then I had to look at this other situation of where I felt little old me. And I had to sit with it and think, okay, she's helping me in a business sense. But look at all the things that I've helped her from a spiritual, personal, sense that I have gifted her, because I felt like it wasn't a mutual exchange of energy. I felt like she was helping me more than I could help her. And I felt like, again, she didn't make me feel like that. I felt like that, where I was shrinking again. Who am I? Who's little old me to help with, to work with this businesswoman who's got like 60 staff, got a huge business? Who's little old me? Why would she want to help little old me? And then I had to think, hang on a sec, Lise, like you have helped her so much in the years that you've been working together, and really look at, again, how I was diminishing myself. So things can play out in situations or people around you. Even another example is through, let me give you an example of money, okay? So I would feel, this is an example of how you have like hidden desires, and you feel like you got to keep them to yourself because it might come across greedy, or it might come across like, I can't expose that part of myself because what if people think I'm greedy? What if people think I'm selfish? Or what if people think, they all come from this feeling of what do people think, right? So let's use money as an example. Like I would hide the fact that, keep hidden the fact that I want to earn a lot of money in what I do, like I can openly tell you now, like a goal of mine is I want to build with what I do in my brand or my business or my offerings, to get to a point, I've got it on my vision board, where I would love to earn $500,000 a year. Like that's been there, but I know I'm keeping myself blocked because my subconscious belief is, I don't want people to think I'm greedy. I don't want people to think that I'm only working with them to make money out of them. I don't want people to think that, you kind of sometimes think that to be spiritual, you can't earn money, like it's not spiritual to want to earn money. And then I would think, but hang on, like, why do I love working? Like, what is it I love about money, right? I love that it's not from an ego perspective to have the biggest house, or that's not important to me. What I love about money is it gives you opportunities to give. It gives you opportunities to have a beautiful lifestyle and not be embarrassed to say, I want a nice lifestyle. I like nice things. It gives you opportunities to do the experiences that you want to do. You can't travel without money. You can't do these amazing things on your bucket list without money. And then I started looking at it and going, why do I keep it hidden from people that it's almost like I feel like I don't want to make money off people. But then I went, hang on a sec, like, why do we work? Why do we go to a job? We all go to a job to earn money. We all we do things. We have a business to earn money, and it can be both. It can be this desire to want to come from a place of service, to want to help people, feel good, to want to help people transform their life. But it's okay to have, to earn money from that. It's okay to feel that you can be, it's okay to have both fulfillment and income. It's okay to have both. And then I started looking at like a girl that I love, Kiki Kivas. I love the brand Kavari, and I love her clothing. I love what she stands for. I love that she's an Aussie chick who's built a big brand. And I thought about it and I went, do I look at her? She drives her beautiful car. She's, has a beautiful business. She wears beautiful things. She speaks. She does all these amazing things. Do I, when I buy a piece of her clothing, do I buy it and go, she's just making money out of me? I've never thought that. Like, I've absolutely never thought that. I buy her stuff because they make me feel good. I like wearing them. And I look at her because she's inspiring. And so I started to think about that and gone, if I keep blocking or having this fear around or hiding that part of myself around money, what it does is it sends my nervous system a signal or a message to say it is not safe to hold large amounts of money because you're worrying about what people think. And if you get scared by what people think, it's going to put your nervous system in a place of it's not safe to hold large amounts of money. You push it away from you. You block it and you have resistance around it and you push it away from you. So that's another example of how your shadow self can come up in self-worth, and not feeling good enough. It can come up in ego traits like the man at the shop. It can come up in ways of, can come up in ways of your greedy desires. Not even greedy, but like your secret desires that you don't want people to know. So there are lots of different ways that they can show up. And I've got a couple of notes here to keep me on track. Let me share something with you, and this is I've got ideas for my business. I've got ideas that I've had for a little while, and I've got ideas that they go against the grain of what other studios do. They're a bit different to the traditional format of what other studios do. And I have this fear of there's parts of me that love being different, but there's this fear of being different. If I step out into my brand and what I want to do going into next year, this is why I'm bringing it to the surface with you now, I have this fear that I will get criticized. What if people judge me? What if people, from doing things that are not traditional way that studios do things? What if I get comments left on Facebook or social media that are bad, that are not, I love the positive feedback. I love all of the good stuff. I love to know I'm doing a good job, which can come from recognition or can come from those, you just want to know you're serving people. That it's holding me from stepping out of my comfort zone and from trying new things and from doing new things, because I need to feel safe in this feeling of I want to be liked. I want to please people. I don't want negative comments. That would rattle me. That would trigger me. So I keep myself safe and I keep myself stuck and from reaching my full potential because of this fear of judgment or this fear of criticism or this fear of being a little bit too different. Even a lot of the spiritual woo stuff I share with you, I've been slowly getting out of my comfort zone for quite a while now, but there's still, again, that shadow self that if I really brought everything to the surface and go, babe, this is who I am, what I stand for, this is how I roll, it would give me more. And I'm telling you, because this will be the same for you, it will help you connect with more of who you are and it will help you reach your potential. So I've recognized all these things are all happening at the end of the year. So this all comes back to step one, girls, awareness, okay? First thing you need to do is have awareness, pay attention. All these examples I've given you in this first big half of the episode, I'm going to smash through the last bit, but this first half of the episode is to help you understand how it can show up through examples. But now it's your turn, okay? I want you to have awareness. I want you to pay attention to the strong negative reactions, the hidden desires, the criticism, the triggers, the judgments, the dislikes, all the things that I've shared with you that are your own unacknowledged shadows, okay? And a way that you can do this is by going into a nourishment place. So going into meditation, going into journaling, going into a moment of peace, going maybe at the end of a yoga class, going into, sit out in nature, analyze like your dreams, go and ground yourself through self-care, having a raw cacao first thing or a cup of tea mindfully first thing in the morning. Find yourself a space where you can tap into that moment of peace and you can reflect. So you can reflect by just sit and think and reflect, as I've been doing. I've been reflecting as I've been driving, walking, just things that have come up, but I've also been reflecting in my journaling. So I really encourage you to journal and write freely around your thoughts, your emotions, your past experiences, your so-called perceived mistakes, your patterns, your beliefs, maybe childhood wounds or traumas or things that have happened to you, things that you're dealing with, things that are causing you trouble, things that are making you feel uncomfortable, and write them down. So have awareness first of those shadow parts of you. And I'm going to give you a couple of questions. So I'll read them out now. You may have to pause and go back, but you may be driving and just listen now and then go back a little bit later and listen, and write them down. Questions to ask yourself: what are my secret desires or my darkest thoughts? What is the thing that I fear most about people finding out about me that I may be ashamed or embarrassed of? What is the most mortifying or biggest lie that I have told? Again, to keep yourself safe, to keep yourself from looking like you've got this mask of perfection or to be right. What or when or why did I start to reject this aspect of my truth and my real self? So it could have been something that's happened in your childhood. It could have been something that someone said that you let part of your real self be seen, and then someone said something that made you feel embarrassed, and then you started to shrink. So what has triggered you, or when or why did I start to reject this aspect of myself? Where does it come from? How did I inherit it? So maybe look again through patterns or beliefs or partners or people you've had relationships with, or where did these beliefs come from? What triggers me the most in others? This is a big one. And triggering might not be anger or, sadness. Triggering can be jealousy. Like, what am I jealous about in someone? Trigger can, the trigger can show up in this way of, I wish I had that, like this secret desire. Like, that's not fair because you give them a hard time. That's not fair. They have that. Why don't I have that? Because you're jealous of something. And I look at it now and I go, if there's something I see in somebody that I maybe feel a bit jealous of or I secretly want, I can have that thing, or am capable of that thing. So owning it instead of rejecting it, okay? What judgment do I feel about myself or other people? And what do I complain about? So what you complain about is chances are you do it yourself, okay? So find yourself a nice spot, have the awareness and sit with those things and notice, answer those questions, okay? Then I want you to allow yourself to feel the emotion. So feel the emotion. Sometimes you might feel like you need a bit of cry. Sometimes you might feel angry. If somebody triggers you, like I've had a few triggers and I've been angry, feel the anger, feel the emotion, feel the sadness, feel how you need to feel, because that's the part of the emotional intelligence part, right? That you need to have that energy move through you. That emotion is energy in motion. So have like even have pretend like you're having a dialogue with somebody, right? And you can say it out loud to them, like, as if you were talking to this person, and ask them the question, like, why are you triggering me? Like, why are you blaming me? Just pretend like you're having this dialogue with someone and think, what would the answer be? And then write it down, like write down what would come up. So feel the emotion and then write it down as if you were like saying to them how you were feeling. Write down how you were feeling and then think like what would come back to you? What would the answer be? Write down the answer. I want you to acknowledge those parts of yourself without shame, without judgment, without embarrassment. And just know, like, this is part of the human process, right? There is nothing to be embarrassed about. This is part of being a human. Ask like your shadow soul self, like, what does it need? It needs self-compassion. It needs, recognize that everybody has these shadow parts. It's not just you, right? Like everybody has these shadow parts of themselves. Notice your energy in those shadow situations. Notice the discomfort. Notice how you're feeling. So noticing your energy, asking spirit to help you, like asking God, source, universe, help me notice these parts of my shadow self. What is it? And ask them to help show them to you. But also then in return, have this compassion for yourself. Have this feeling of forgiving yourself. Have this feeling that this is healthy, this is normal. Look at yourself in a compassionate way instead of feeling judgment towards yourself or embarrassment or shame or guilt towards yourself. Have a self-compassion and go, everybody feels like this at times. Everybody hides parts of themselves. At least I'm being honest enough to look at myself, and be proud of yourself for looking at yourself, and have compassion and look at yourself through the eyes of love. If you had somebody coming to you with these feelings of hiding their shadow self or how they would feel, you would have compassion for that other person. If you were sitting down with your child or a loved one, you would have compassion for them. Flip it and have compassion for yourself. And you will need to forgive yourself. You will need to look at those shadows as like a wounded part of yourself that needs love, that needs healing, that needs, like, don't reject it. Don't sit in shame. This is a way that when we accept it and when we accept that part of ourselves, we can work together. You can learn to grow from this. So have this forgiveness for yourself. And I love this Ho'oponopono Hawaiian prayer that says, and you can say it to other people or you can say it to yourself. You say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Meaning I'm sorry, whether it's other people involved, whether you've been blaming or you're sorry to yourself, like I'm sorry for holding myself back. I'm sorry for feeling that I had to hide these parts of myself, but that's okay. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for what I've maybe said to people in the past. Please forgive me for the way I've shown up to other people. Please forgive, like, to your soul. Please forgive myself for the way I've treated myself, or the way I've reacted. Whatever it is that comes up for you, ask for forgiveness for yourself and for other people if necessary. Then say thank you. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for highlighting, universe. Thank you for highlighting these challenges or these situations or highlighting these triggers in other people. Thank you for showing me that, because I can actually embrace that. I can actually acknowledge that. I can actually bring it to myself and I can learn from it moving forward. So thank yourself for the lessons. Ask yourself, like, how have I learned from this? How have what lessons do I need to see out of all of this? And thank the universe, thank yourself, thank other people involved for showing you what needs to be healed, okay? And then I love you. So send people love, send yourself love, send the situation love, send love to other people involved, and send that, and just have this energy of forgiveness. Forgive yourself and forgive other people. Then what you can do is, if you need to, how can you release that? It could be through sage. You can light up some sage and you can use the sage to I release and let go. You can go for a beautiful ocean swim or a saltwater bath or stand in the shower and feel this releasing and letting go. Like, how can I let this go through, because I don't want to carry it anymore? It can be through dance, through movement, through yoga. However you need to move it through your body, let go and clear the blockages from your body. It can be through burning your journaling page. Whatever it is, let it go. And then ask the universe to look at everything moving forward with the eyes of more, look at yourself, other situations, looking forward through the eyes of love and compassion, the eyes of seeing others through the eyes of love, seeing the world through the eyes of love, but seeing yourself through the eyes of love, and being softer towards yourself, being softer towards other people, and looking at how can I now, moving forward with more of love in my heart, with more compassion in my heart, how can I maybe update or change or shift some of my habits or patterns? Maybe you need to bring in new habits, new patterns. Maybe you need to consciously choose something different, a different way of handling things. Maybe you need to get more clarity on what you do want. So writing down what you do want moving forward, how you do want to feel, how you can reflect again, like, how can I turn this? How do I want to feel moving forward? How do I want to react in situations like this? How do I want to turn this so-called weakness, this so-called dark shadow part of yourself, into strength, into wisdom? How can you transform it moving forward? And then your next goal is wholeness. Like, your goal is integration. Your goal is to reclaim these lost parts of yourself and to integrate them to reduce this internal conflict. Because when you conflict with yourself, when you battle with yourself constantly, it blocks your energy and causes an internal conflict. When you accept these parts of yourself and you go, thank you for the lessons, thank you for the healing, thank you for really embracing these parts of myself. How can I use those parts of myself to fuel this next part of myself? How can I use this into, put it into creativity, put it, maybe some of my rage or the way I have spoken to people in the past, how can I, accept it and go, yeah, that's good that I am assertive, but how can I now move it forward, move it to a place of set healthy boundaries, but have a nicer tongue, So looking at those parts of yourselves and go, how can I transform it into wisdom moving forward and turn it into a strength for me moving forward? Some things just need to get buried too. And some things, and when I say buried, like, just make a decision. I'm not showing up like that anymore. I'm not showing up being rude to people, or I'm not showing up with harshness anymore. I'm going to come from more of a place of love and kindness and compassion and catch myself. It's still going to show up again. Like, this is not a once only thing and then it's just fixed, right? Like, healing is a gradual process. These things are going to show up again. Maybe you need to go and get a little bit more help through a psychologist or an energy healer or a counselor, or, maybe you need to get a little bit more help. Acknowledge that and have the confidence in yourself to go, you know what, I am going to get some support with this. It's okay to ask for support. So you may have to take it a little bit deeper. And today might just be that first step of awareness of what's not working and how can I help grow and heal from that. Reading some books, getting onto some podcasts, changing your habits moving forward, getting into yoga, getting into some more meditation that are going to be more healing and nourishing. And understand that don't be so hard on yourself. This is going to be a gradual process, but I'm so proud of myself for acknowledging it moving forward. And just know that all of this work, girls, is going to give you more freedom. It's going to help you embrace your uniqueness. It's going to help you live more authentically. Like, after I had all of these journaling, like, this has gone on over this last month, but more deeply in these last few days, right? And this is why I wanted to share it with you. How can I, moving forward, this is what has come up for me, how can I embrace these parts of me to be more authentic, but also to encourage other women to be more authentic, to encourage other people to be more vulnerable, to encourage other women to go, girls, it's okay to have these shadow parts of ourselves. We all have them. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And by me speaking up and sharing, it's encouraging you to do the same thing. So maybe by you having this, it's going to give you a sense of freedom in yourself, but maybe you're going to empower other people around you, whether it be loved ones or friends or in your own work. Let's get more real with girls. Let's get more real with women and lift other women up and help other women, but we have to do it ourselves. And then guess what, girls? We feel more authentic, we feel more embodied, but we feel more freedom. When I got all of these, everything I've been sharing with you, I journaled on all of this stuff. I was compassionate towards myself. I surrendered. I asked for help, for support from the guidance from the universe. I was driving out and I looked out because I'm out near the cane fields and I'm driving out and I saw the most amount of eagles I have ever seen in my life. Like, when they harvest out here, you do see a lot of them around because they want to come and eat the rodents and the snakes and everything that gets stirred up, right? So what happens is the chaos of the harvest stirs everything up. And then, but it also resets. It's like this rising of the phoenix, right? Where you come like this burning of the ashes, this regrowth period where it gets a bit messy, it gets a bit chaotic, it gets a bit unsettled, it gets a bit confrontational. When you're looking at your stuff, it gets a bit raw, it gets a bit vulnerable, it gets a bit uncomfortable. But then what happens is just like the harvest of the crop, it sets the stage. It sets the foundation for new seeds to be planted, for new growth to occur. And I looked up and I saw the most amount of eagles I'd ever seen. So I pulled up, I got out of my car and I stood there staring at them. I did get out my phone and record it to share a little message with my community and send to one of my friends who loves eagles. And I just stood there out in the middle of nature, hearing nothing. It was peaceful, it was quiet, looking at those birds, thinking, I just feel freedom right now, like these birds soaring. I feel so much freedom. Yes, it's come through the cost. Let's not use the word cost, but it has come through the cost or the hard, uncomfortable process of discomfort, of looking at my stuff, of being emotional, facing all the emotion, all of those feelings. But now I feel freedom. And now I feel like I'm ready to soar like those eagles. I looked up and all I felt was I am about to soar in this next phase, going into this new year or going into this next phase. And I just felt this feeling of love, of peace and freedom looking at those eagles. And that's how I want you to feel. I want you to feel the freedom. I want you to feel the authenticity. I want you to feel the relief. Because even though like some of the collaborations that I was talking about or some of the things that had come up, when I looked at them deeply, knowing that they had to come to an end for me to step into my power and do what I want to do, I felt this feeling of relief. I felt this feeling of, you know what? I can run my own race moving forward. I don't have to rely on other people. I can work with people in a different capacity, maybe paying people in a different capacity instead of feeling like I have to give away half of myself or half of my business, or, like I can still do these things. I can still have collaborations. I can still work with people, but doing it in a different way that is more beneficial for everybody involved. And I felt relief of everything. Like I've said prayers, and I've said words to family members or to people. I showed up and hung out with my family yesterday. I let work go and just went and spent some time with my parents. And I just felt this relief, like, oh my God, this just feels so good. And I felt like emotional, like in a feeling of peacefulness, in a feeling of connection, in a feeling of embodiment, in a feeling of more love for myself, more love for people around me. And that's how I want you to feel, this feeling of peace, this feeling of freedom, this feeling of love, this feeling of self-worth. And that comes from looking at those shadow parts of ourselves. Girls, it's not easy, it's uncomfortable, it's emotional. But what's harder is never doing it and then finding the same stuff is going to show up in the next 9-year cycle or in the next year because you never had the courage to work on yourself, or you never had the courage to get uncomfortable. So moving forward, I invite you to have the courage to be raw and honest and look at yourself and know that it's going to come at a feeling of freedom, a feeling of relief, a feeling of being that free expressed version of yourself, feeling like you can just be yourself and not have to hide parts of yourself. It is a powerful, powerful place to be, girls, and I wish that for you. I hope this has helped you. And if you struggle with this again down the track, come back to this episode because you are going to struggle with it again. I'm going to struggle with it again. Our journey, our life of being a human is constant growth and evolution all the time. We don't just get it done. Things don't happen once. You'll rise up, you'll work through a layer, then another layer will show up for you. So just expect and understand that this is the process, girls. Like, this is the process of being human, but know that every time you do this, you're going to get a little bit stronger, a little bit better, a little bit more embodied, a little bit more powerful, and you're going to strip back layers that are going to get you more connected with your soul. And when you live in more alignment with your heart and soul, you live more alignment with your authentic self. It is freeing. It is so much freeing and a powerful place to be. And I wish that for you. Sending you so much light and love, angels. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. If you're going into a new year, sending you so much abundance of love, health, happiness, prosperity. Moving forward into the new year, or moving forward into your next cycle, or just moving forward into your life. I send all of that to you now, girls. Have a beautiful day. So much love for you. Mwah.